Okay, so we'll begin now. So first of all, thank you so much, everybody who has joined. We are really grateful for all your presence. On our panel, we have Manish Gurnani, Chief Technology Officer at KSOLs, who will take us through the entire launch today. We have Anil Kushwaha, our Technology Head at KSOLs, and Manjot Singh, our Technology Partner at KSOLs. So thank you all for joining. So without wasting much of your time, over to you, Manish. I would ask you to conduct the entire webinar now.
All right. Thank you, Srikriti. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good evening, depending on your time zone. Thank you for taking time to join today's webinar. I am Manish, Chief Technology Officer at KSOLs India Limited, and I'm really excited to walk you through something truly game-changing, which is Data Flow Manager, or what we call also as DFM. This is the first ever CI/CD driven NiFi and data flow management tool designed to automate, scale, and simplify your NiFi deployments. We have got a lot to cover today, so let's dive right in. Before starting, just want to share that you can ask any question in the below given Q&A section, and we will answer your questions at the end, in case if you have any questions regarding to this webinar. All right, let's look at the agenda. To make sure we get the most out of today's session, here's what we are going to cover. First, we'll talk about the common challenges that organizations face when deploying NiFi. Then we will see how DFM solves these issues and challenges in a completely new way. After that, I'll take you through a live demo so you can see DFM in action. We will also do a quick comparison with other NiFi solutions, enterprise NiFi solutions, and share real-world success stories from businesses that are already benefiting from using DFM. Finally, we will wrap up things with a Q&A session where I'll be joined by two of my solution architects, Anil and Manjot, to answer all your questions. All right, so the problem statement. Let's talk about the problem first. If your organization relies on Apache NiFi for data flow automation, you have probably run into some major challenges. The biggest pain points include the lack of a UI-based tool for deploying data flows across NiFi environments. There is no built-in support for scheduling deployments, and there is no easy way to roll back to a previous NiFi flow version when something goes wrong. On top of that, many companies find themselves completely dependent on service providers for deployments, which adds delays and extra costs. Security is another concern. Without audit logs or role-based access controls, there are vulnerabilities. And finally, scaling operations efficiently can be a real struggle. These issues lead to manual errors, operational inefficiencies, and ultimately higher cost. So how do we fix all of this? The answer, DFM. This is where DFM comes into picture. DFM is the first ever CI/CD driven NiFi and data flow management tool that completely transitions the way you deploy, manage, and scale your NiFi environments. It automates deployments, minimizes human intervention, and it ensures seamless data flow management. So what makes DFM different? For starters, it offers end-to-end NiFi support, automates NiFi flow deployments with scheduling feature and rollback. And it is 75% more cost effective than any other enterprise NiFi solution out in the market. 75%. Plus, it's built on open source Apache NiFi, so you are never logged into a vendor. With DFM, companies can reduce deployment time, minimize failures, and scale operations effortlessly. All right, so some key features of DFM. Let's go a little bit deeper and see what makes DFM so powerful. First, it provides a centralized NiFi and data flow management. This allows you to manage all your NiFi instances from within a single window, a single portal, that is DFM. It also enables scheduled deployments with a complete audit history and rollback feature, making it easy to revert changes in case if needed. DFM supports both NiFi 1.x and 2.x, ensuring compatibility across different setups. Security is a major focus as well, with role-based access control and multi-level approval workflows for added protection. Additionally, DFM offers AI-powered flow analysis and generation, helping you optimize your data flows efficiently. And with its built-in monitoring and alerts, you get real-time insights into NiFi performance, making troubleshooting faster and easier. This is over and above what you would be capturing through your Grafana and Prometheus, the regular exporters. This all means less manual effort, fewer errors, and a much smoother operation overall. All right, let's see DFM in action. So in this demo, I will walk you through how DFM simplifies NiFi deployments, enables scheduled flows, and provides real-time monitoring. Watch closely and feel free to jot down any questions. You can drop them in the chat and we will answer them during the Q&A session.
Absolutely. People can drop in their questions in the section below.
So let me share my screen and let me know once it's visible.
Yeah.
I hope my screen is visible now.
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. Okay. So once DFM set up, you have your operations users set up, their access permissions, everything is configured in DFM. Your clusters are onboarded in DFM. And let's say I, as an operations user, have logged into DFM. So this is what I'll see. So I'm going to the clusters menu, and here I'm seeing three clusters. So these are three NiFi clusters which have been onboarded into DFM. My permissions have been set in a way that I can only see these three clusters, but maybe there are more clusters, but I do not have permission to them. So in a way, DFM is controlling which clusters do I have access to, and also what actions can I take on those clusters. Everything is being controlled via DFM through its permissions management. Okay, so let's say now coming to the real meat of DFM, right? How do you sort of do process deployments? Let's say I have a cluster, UAT cluster. My development team has built their NiFi flows and they have committed that into NiFi registry. I want to deploy that flow from development cluster into my UAT cluster. Without DFM, it would have been a complete manual process wherein someone will have, maybe my NiFi admin will have to export that flow from one cluster, update that configuration, validate it, and then again push it into my UAT cluster. Complete manual process. Lots of errors can happen. So with DFM, we will see how that all is avoided. So like I said, I want to deploy a flow into my UAT cluster. How do I do that? So first, I log into my UAT cluster. I have my credentials. Using those credentials, these are my NiFi credentials, right? So using those credentials within DFM, I'm able to log into that cluster. And once I've logged in, I can see that this bar turns green. This green bar indicates that all the nodes in my NiFi cluster, in my NiFi UAT cluster, are up and running. If any of those nodes had any challenges or maybe it was down, part of this graph, part of this bar would be red. So that indicates, there is some challenge with one of the nodes. So within DFM, immediately I get to see my cluster health also. Okay, so now let's say I'm logged into this cluster. I now go to process groups. So process groups currently list all the NiFi processes, NiFi flows, which are presently deployed in my UAT cluster. So I can see one flow which is deployed there, right? Now I want to deploy a new flow within my UAT cluster. So I go to deploy. I select the bucket from which I want to deploy. Let's say I select data ingestion. I select the flow which I want to deploy. let's say I select file transfer. All right. So it shows me there are two versions of file transfer. The latest version being number two. Let's say I want to deploy the latest version into my UT cluster. So I select number two. I click on to continue. Now over here, DFM shows me a minified view of my NiFi canvas. Let's say if I have hundreds of processes deployed within my NiFi canvas, how do I how do I sort of know where this process is going to deploy it? So within DFM, you have this minified view of your NiFi canvas. This orange represents the process that I'm currently going to deploy. The green represents the process which are already deployed and running in my UAT server. So using this view, I can drag this anywhere in my canvas and I can place it. So let's say I place it to the left of of the existing process. So once this process will be deployed within my NiFi canvas, I can check that this will be on the left side of the existing process. So this becomes very useful once you have multiple NiFi processes existing on your NiFi canvas. So you will know exactly where this process is getting deployed. All right. Then there are certain, pre-filled configurations because UAT is already on board into DFM. So it pulls in what is the NiFi URL, what is my NiFi registry URL. There is no need to type in anything over here. So no chance of any error. I continue. In case, now again, very important feature of DFM. In case my NiFi flow had certain conversion to be done, for example, in terms of parameter context, or maybe I need to set up variables, or it was using, let's say, some controller service, I need to do all those configurations. So I do not need to go to NiFi UI to do that. I can do all of that within DFM. This process does not have that, so I'll just go ahead and click continue. But this is a very useful feature, again, very unique to DFM. So let's say I click on to continue. DFM shows me a summary screen. I can review my information over here. I am deploying version 2. Then DFM also lists, again, very intuitively, DFM lists me what are my post deployment steps. Once this flow is deployed within my NiFi cluster, within my NiFi UAT cluster, what is that I want to do with that flow after deployment? Do I want to start that flow? Do I want to stop that flow? Let's say I want to start that flow. I click on to start. It asks me for confirmation. I say confirm. So now what will happen is once this flow is deployed into NiFi cluster, after deployment, the NiFi flow will be started also. Again, everything is in DFM. So let's click on to deploy and let's see. DFM behind the scenes is doing its magic. It is validating the flow. It is pulling it out from registry. It is deploying it on the right cluster as we have selected. It also is picking the right version. And then once it's all deployed, it will start that flow. Here you see that, right? And we see DFM says that, this process has been deployed successfully and it is also started. Let's go and check in the NiFi UI also. So I have my NiFi UI also open. Okay. Over here, there was only one process earlier. Now DFM has deployed a process, like I said, which was to the left of this. So here we see file transfer is deployed, and we can also see file transfer is in the running state. So within DFM, I was able to do a process deployment to a cluster and set its final status also. Now imagine if all this was supposed to be done manually via scripts, a lot of chances of errors or missing something. With DFM, it's all seamless. Okay, let's go back. Let's suppose now maybe I had an error, in my process and I want to roll it back. So what do I do then? So I just deploy this file transfer process, right? I deployed the version 2 of this, right? Let me go and try to switch or try to roll it back. So I go to the upgrade option. Over here, I click onto, I can select the version which I want to deploy. So let's say I select version 1. I'm rolling it back. I click on to continue. Again, if I have to set up any parameter context or variables, I can do that. I click on to continue. The current version deployed is 2. I'm updating it. I'm rolling it back to version 1. Again, I have my option to what is that I want to do. DFM is intelligently also telling me that this flow is already running and what is that you want to do after deployment. So let's say I want to still keep it running. So I'll again say, keep it running. And then I say, I'm now downgrading it. DFM doing the magic again behind the scenes. Let's see. So it's again pulling the right version from repository, verifying it, validating it, and then pushing it on the UAT server. So with DFM, again, what we are seeing, everything happening within a single window. All right, it has deployed it. Let's go and check in the NiFi UI. All right, so let's refresh it. Okay. Okay, so now we see.
Yeah, means go to change version. Yep.
Yeah, okay. All right. So here we see the current version deployed as version 1, right? Because we had downgraded it. So it was simply within DFM, I was able to click few buttons and roll back my earlier process. Okay. And yeah, so we saw about how can we deploy a process, how can we roll back any process. There is DFM still has many unique features. So let's look at another very unique and very useful feature of DFM: scheduled deployments. Most of the times it happens, let's say when you are doing a deployment, the person has to be available and doing the deployment manually. That person, the NiFi admin, has to be available while the deployment happens. But let's say I have I want to do a deployment during my off business hours or maybe during a weekend. How can that how can I do that using DFM? So let's say there is an option called schedule deployment. I click on schedule deployment. Again, let's say maybe I'm selecting the same process. Maybe I'm upgrading it to the latest version now. So I again pick a file transfer. It shows me I have to pick up the latest version. Let's say I pick up the latest version 2. I click on continue. Now, again, very important feature, DFM knows intelligently that this process is already deployed within NiFi, within my NiFi UAT cluster. Do you want to deploy it again? Yes, let's say I want to do it for now. So I click on continue. Again, you see these are two processes already deployed, and it is allowing me to deploy a new process, a duplicate process. So let's say I deploy it at the top this time. I'm just within the canvas, I'm selecting at the top. Okay. And then, all these details are pre-filled. Let's say maybe I have to fill in some pre-tags. I do that. I click on to continue. Now, in the earlier process, we saw in the earlier deployment flow, we saw that it was doing an immediate deployment. But this is a scheduled deployment. So it is asking me, when do you want this deployment to run? Let's say I want to do this on a Saturday, and you can see the calendar and the time view popping up over here. Let's say I pick up on Saturday, and let's say I want to do it at maybe mid of the night. So let's say 12:30 a.m. I want to run my NiFi deployment at midnight of a weekend. Had DFM not been there, this would have to be executed by someone manually sitting on a system and doing this. With DFM, this will be all automated. So again, I have set up the scheduled deployment time. I say, okay, maybe this time keep the flow stopped because, let's say I'm just picking it as stopped because the scheduled deployment, maybe I don't want to run it. So I say post deployment is stopped and I click on to continue. DFM shows me a summary, shows me the scheduled deployment and what is the post status of the deployment. And I click on to schedule. It is again asking for confirmation that do you want to do this? I say yes. And there, the deployment is scheduled. Now, because DFM also has a capability of approvals. So for scheduled deployment, I have configured that within my POC, I've configured that any scheduled deployment needs an approval. So DFM also has sent in an email to the approver informing that approver of the process which is being deployed, to which cluster, who has initiated that, and whether the approver is okay to approve or reject that mail has already gone to the approver, and the approver, within his mailbox, he can select approve, yes, or he can say reject, and DFM accordingly will do that action. The same action can be taken within DFM also. I have approve and reject options over here also. And once I say approve, right now the scheduled deployment is in a pending status. So it is waiting for an approval. Let's say I approve it. DFM shows me to confirm it. And once confirmed, the status has been changed to approved. This means now this scheduled deployment is approved to be deployed on Saturday at 12:30 a.m. in night. And after deployment, that process will be in a stopped state. This scheduled deployment flexibility is available nowhere else outside of DFM. The power of DFM to your play. All right. So we talked about, clusters, checking the cluster status. We talked about process deployments. We saw how can you roll back your deployments. We also talked about scheduled deployments. Now let's move to another very interesting feature of DFM that is related to compliance. So whatever I have been doing within DFM, this is all captured in an immutable audit log. Let's view that audit log. So let's go to activity history. So over here, you see all the actions that I have taken so far in DFM are displayed over here, and this is an immutable record. So over here, I first deployed a process, I downgraded that, then I set up a scheduled deployment, then I approved that scheduled deployment. So all of these actions are captured within DFM, and it shows which was the process group which was being deployed, what was the cluster to which it was being deployed, which version were we deploying, what was the status of that action, who did it, at what time. Everything is captured within DFM. And in case there is any other detail, you can click on this eye icon and you will see those details also. Okay. So everything in DFM is audit logged. This is very useful where you need to meet your compliance requirements. All right. So another important feature of DFM, the dashboard. So dashboard shows us some important metrics, key metrics, I would say, of your NiFi cluster. This is over and above what you will be capturing in your regular monitoring stack, let's say Grafana or Prometheus, right? They will be only capturing your node statuses, maybe node health. DFM captures and shows your NiFi related statistics also. So for my UAT clusters, what are the total processors which are deployed? What are my running processors? What are my stop processors? What is the queue length? What is the data size of the queue length? So it captures all these NiFi metrics, the important ones, and displays you within your dashboard. You can further drill down to your process group also. Let's say I select file transfer. So I'll see my NiFi metrics only related to my file transfer process group now. No other solution provides this sort of capabilities besides DFM. Then we can also see any errors which are occurring in my NiFi nodes. So I do not need to SSH into my NiFi cluster nodes and sort of view through my log files or look at into some other log, let's say my Dynatrace or something else. Within DFM, I have all my errors listed on any node in that cluster. They will all pop up over here. No error means all my cluster is doing well. There is no error coming in the logs. So again, to summarize, we saw clusters, we saw process deployments, we saw downgrades, we saw scheduled deployments, we saw audit logs, we saw NiFi metrics, and we saw how DFM brings it all together in a unique and intuitive way. There are other features also in DFM. I'm not covering them all, but just to give you an overview, DFM allows you to integrate with your existing authentication mechanisms, let's say LDAP. You can create your own roles. You can create fine-grained permissions to those roles, and you can assign. You can you can create your own users and map those users within roles to make sure that only appropriate users have appropriate access on your NiFi clusters, on your NiFi environments. No more logging into individual NiFi cluster and configuring your permissions individually for each user within that cluster. You do everything from within DFM. All right. So that takes to the demo. Let me go back and let's let's go back to the presentation. All right. So again, just to summarize, we saw how DFM makes life of NiFi admins easier. If you were not using DFM, maybe you might have developed your own custom manual scripts using, let's say, Ansible or NiFi toolkit. It will still be very difficult and error prone as your data flows environments increase, as your NiFi clusters increase, as you deploy more data flows. It will be literally impossible to manage all of that via just plain scripts. With DFM, there are additional capabilities that you get. You get audit logs, you get rollback options. Now, all of this is impossible to do with just scripts. But with DFM, it's completely error-free and one-click deployments. That's the power of DFM. Okay, let's quickly compare some benefits, between DFM versus other enterprise NiFi solutions out there. Okay, so unlike traditional tools, DFM is built ground up around a CI/CD approach, meaning you get seamless automation for your flow deployments. It fully supports open source NiFi, including version 1.x and 2.x. The AI-powered flow analysis and generation feature makes it much smarter than any other options out in the market. It also supports custom processors, process group level monitoring. So in case you have your own NiFi team, you have your own NiFi capabilities, you can develop your own custom processors and deploy them on your NiFi clusters. DFM will not hinder in any way. All right. Uh, Going to other comparisons, we also saw detailed audit logs for complete visibility and compliance. And then the best part about DFM, it offers all of these features at 75% lower cost compared to other enterprise solutions without any vendor lock-in. DFM is not just a deployment tool. It's a complete NiFi cluster management and automation platform. All right, let's see some key benefits of DFM. So what does this all mean for you? DFM's user-friendly interface removes the need for complex scripting or configurations. With one-click deployment, you can eliminate any human errors and ensure consistency across your NiFi environments. Automated flow deployments lead to improved data quality and the highly customizable architecture lets you tailor it to your business needs while keeping the cost low. DFM is also highly cost effective and efficient, eliminating manual processes and any unnecessary operational expenses. Plus, it scales effortlessly. So as your data pipelines grow, you don't have to worry about added complexity. All right. So what sets DFM apart from its competitors? DFM is your one-stop solution for both NiFi cluster management, that is your NiFi nodes, as well as your NiFi data flow management, bringing everything you need into a single powerful platform. What sets us apart is our feature-rich approach, designed to eliminate industry-wide gaps and provide a seamless, cost-effective solution. With our UI-driven data flow deployment, you can manage your workflows effortlessly without any scripting. Our automated and scheduled deployment ensures that your data flows run precisely when needed without any manual intervention. We have built a multi-level approval workflow, adding an extra layer of security and control to your deployments. Our version control and rollback features allow you to revert any previous deployment instantly, minimizing risks and ensuring seamless continuity. We saw that downgrade, we saw that scheduled deployment in the demo also. For complete transparency, our detailed audit log tracks every change, providing accountability and compliance support. We saw the audit logs, and to top it all, and to just top it all, we have a 24/7 support team, which is always available, ensuring you have assistance whenever you need it. DFM isn't just another tool. It's a smarter, more efficient way to manage data flows, bridging industry-wide gaps at most cost-effective price. All right, let's talk about some success stories. So these are some real-world success stories which our customers have shared. One of our clients, it's a $1 billion shipping giant based in US. They were spending over US $1 million annually on NiFi managed services. $1 million. After switching to DFM, they are able to cut their cost to just 120,000 USD, 120K USD, from 1 million to 120K USD. They saw a 95% reduction in deployment failures and experienced 70% faster flow deployments. Next success story. This is again a US based MNC. They are an asset management firm that migrated from enterprise NiFi to an open source solution. They were originally spending US dollar 1.2 million, but after DFM, their costs are reduced to only US dollar 200K, 200,000 from $1.2 million because of DFM. They also eliminated any third-party dependency and implemented RBAC security and scheduling using DFM. Third success story, we have also worked with a leading telecom provider that struggled with manual data flow deployment errors. After adopting DFM, they have achieved a 90% error reduction and 70% faster deployment times, while significantly improving their call detail record processing and service uptime. These are just a few examples of DFM, how DFM is helping businesses automate, scale, and save money. All right, so I'll take a pause here. Let's open the floor for questions. Feel free to drop your questions in the chat. I am joined in today by my colleagues, Anil and Manjot, who will also help answer any of your technical queries. Whether you want to know more about DFM features, deployment process, or integration with your existing NiFi setup, we are here to help you out.
Yeah.
The floor is open for questions.
I think it was a wonderful session, Manish. You spoke a lot about, our struggles, the problems that people might face, and the solution that DFM offers. With that, you also shared success stories. I mean, that was great. Um, you know, if people have any question, they can drop in the questions. I have received 3 questions by now in the panelist section. If there are more questions, if people want to ask any question, you can drop in the Q&A section. Shall we start by taking the 3 questions that has come to me? Manish?
Yes, go ahead, please.
So whomever is comfortable with the question, Anil or Manish, you can take it up, or even Manjot.
Okay.
So I think the first question here that we have on our screen is how does DFM simplify NiFi deployment across multiple environments? Because, other competitors do not have it.
Right. Anil, maybe you want to take it?
Yeah, sure, Manish. Thank you, Sukriti. So, it's a good question. So as you have seen that, we have very, user-friendly UI, where, you can develop your flow in any of your development environment. You can commit that to the registry, and then you have, within the DFM two option to the choose the cluster you want that flow. And, you can either instantly deploy that, or you can, schedule that. So that is, one of the unique feature that, let you schedule that flow, and everything have been, tracked through a, activity log and history. So something, went wrong, you can always go and track that what happened. And the activity history, also help us to, figure out that who deployed that, when that flow, because when you have, enterprise setup, lots of your developers, users, doing these things, you will struggle with those things to be get a, in centralized UI to manage these all things. So when you have a lot of, too many number of clusters, you have too many people working on together, definitely there was a need of, a centralized UI based, NiFi cluster management and flow deployment tool. And the flow deployment, that is the one thing that only DFM offers.
Completely.
Hope
I
that answered your question.
Yeah, I think that sums up to my question. If anybody wants to add in more, feel free.
I think Anil covered it perfectly, and
Okay.
I hope the question is answered.
I think let's move on to the next question then.
Yep.
So the next question is from Uttam. Does DFM offer fine-grained permissions and security policies for NiFi instances? So, what do
Okay.
you have to answer for this?
Again, maybe Anil, you want to take that?
Yeah, Manish, let me take it. So basically, let me explain you through a kind of a problem that customer come to us. So they have more than 200 300 NiFi developers, more than 70 to 80 NiFi environments, and they were struggling to restrict access, that what teams should be access to what. And then also they want their UAT production and other environments to logged out, so they can do a control deployment. The NiFi admin and other people have been monitoring that. They can approve, and then only those deployment can deploy, because when the developers are doing, due to the human tendency, people makes error, and they're costing their UAT and production data pipelines flow down, and costing with them the business and money. Okay. So we thought through this, and then we brought a capability within the DFM where you have fine-grained access control, where you have create the roles, and then each role you can assign that what set of the cluster they can access, and then you can assign users to that role. So it have very good way that we have added in the DFM, that you can control a fine grade security, that what NiFi instances and which who can access that. So in that way that have been brought in the DFM, and that helping our customer to control who can access what NiFi instances. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, I think so. It very well answers my question. And I think the other user also who has asked us kind of a similar question. Can DFM restrict access to specific data flow based on user roles? So I think you answered that as well in this question.
So it's a kind of a little bit I have to add that to the question, and thanks for asking this one. This one is important, and that is something DFM handles in the different way than it handles for the cluster security. So for the flow level security, we are inheriting from the NiFi. So what you will configure at the NiFi end, because NiFi have capability that you can restrict your access, that who can access what flow, and then who can view that, who can edit, deploy, and change parameter, contacts, controller services. So that basically to not do a double work, we will inherit it through the NiFi. So whatever you will configure at the NiFi, DFM will inherit you, and once your user will logged in the DFM, they will see the same level of access and permission that you have configured for the NiFi.
Okay. Okay. I think you have answered all my questions. And I think these were the only question that was asked to me in the panelist section. I think there's one more question. Does DFM allows time zone based deployments? If any one of you can pick it up.
I can answer that. So it's basically local time zone, right? So whatever time zone your system is set up, that's what basically it it allows you to deploy in. So
Okay. Okay. I hope this answers the question. It says anonymous, so let's just hope that it gets answered for the person who's asking. There's another question. I'm so sorry. The questions are coming up right now. If the deployment gets stuck and then continues, will it resume processing or restart? So login tracking, how can login tracking happen? This is the question.
So Anil, in case, if the deployment gets stuck and then continues, does it resume processing or will it restart?
So basically, if something went wrong, it will keep processing at, the older version. So suppose if you are deploying a new flow, there is nothing will, getting in the process, right? But if you are deploying, upgrading a version, then if something new, failed, then the older version will keep, processing your data the way it was doing earlier.
It's like with, let's say without DFM, you're doing it on NiFi, right? On the cluster directly, right? If the deployment gets stuck, that deployment does not happen. And then your, existing deployment which was there already,
The older version
that will continue.
keep processing your data.
Yeah.
I think we'll take just one last question, and then I think we will say bye-bye to people.
I think there's one more question in between. Does DFM support hybrid cloud and on-premise NiFi deployments?
Yeah, it well supports Manish, as you know that we have on-prem,
Yes.
cloud and, on-prem plus cloud, the hybrid mode, everything, the DFM. And, it's a kind of a unique feature that deployment, the flow deployment management, someone that offering, on-prem, that is only DFM. So it support both, on-prem cloud and hybrid. Few people may be doing the cloud, but no one doing hybrid. And that's why, DFM outdistant there.
Right. As far as we know, DFM is the only product which is doing this hybrid cloud as well as on-premises.
Yeah, you're correct.
Okay, I think we have answered all our questions. Manish, over to you. Do you want to add something?
All right. I think, I just want to say, thank you to everyone for joining today's session. If you are interested and you like to explore how DFM can fit into your organization, feel free to reach out to us. You can visit us on our website, www.casehouse.com. Follow us on LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, for more updates and case studies related to DFM or even NiFi. We'd love to help you transform your NiFi deployments with automation and efficiency. That's it for today. We appreciate your time and look forward to working with you. Have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you all of you for joining.